Hey, and good Thursday morning, everybody. Meteorologist Greg Majeski here with you on the Weather Nerds YouTube channel with a severe weather update here for today, as we're expecting some active weather not only for today, but also going into tomorrow and the next day. Next 3 days will be pretty active. Then we get a little bit of a break, might get another fire up again for next week. So we're into May. It's a severe weather season. It's that time of season, and you go with my motto: be prepared and not scared. That is the big thing to be for today. Now, before we get going in this report, if you're coming in after the fact, after the live update, if you're not yet a subscriber, please help our struggling little channel. If you could, please hit that subscribe button there in that lower right-hand corner. Hit the notification bell so you're alerted on when we do these updates and whenever we do any of our special live coverage. Again, my goal is to give you some personalized service. So let's go ahead and take a look right now what's going on with the big picture. We're going to be watching this storm system up here into the high plains. And what's kind of unusual about this system today is it's going to strengthen quite rapidly. In fact, the pressure is supposed to fall down to about 977 millibars. To give you an idea, that is equivalent to a Category 2 hurricane. It's very unusual to be going into the middle of May and seeing a low pressure system like this develop. Very unusual indeed. Typically, as you go into the deeper into spring and summer, it's you're only looking at tropical systems that kind of give you pressures like that. So what we had yesterday, what we call it a bit of a warm-up act yesterday, we had about 168 reports out there. So you can see the air target zones that we're looking at right there. You're going to expect probably a lot more reports today than we had yesterday. 168 yesterday. Right now, we're quiet right now, but we're going to see a lot more come up on this thing here for today quite substantially. So again, what we're watching is this storm system right there in a pretty good clash of air masses in here. You notice here behind the system, we got temperatures here in the 40s, and we've got a surge of warm air coming out ahead of this thing going into the 70s. So we're going to be watching two different things that are going to happen today. We got what's going to be a pretty decent squall line that's going to be kind of evolving and kind of moving up this way. And then we're going to be watching for potential supercell thunderstorms depending on when that cap breaks across Indiana and Illinois going into the later in the afternoon. And we're going to break it down the model data here in just a second. But let's first go ahead and take a look right now at how this is going to break down. Let's look at the latest from the Storm Prediction Center here, as we're going to be looking at the risk factor. We're talking about an enhanced area here, so over there in the orange is where our risk factor is going to be the highest, obviously. That's our level 3. Yellow surrounding and around that goes into Dayton, down to Clarksville, Evansville, Cape Girardeau, and we also got a little pocket over here, over into Virginia as well. So a couple areas we got to watch. Pardon me with my throat today. And again, we're going to be watching this area in here specifically for today. So the tornado risk here, again, kind of looks like a dinkum snake, doesn't it? This yellow area, Clare, down toward Oshkosh, Madison, Milwaukee, Chicago, South Bend, all in that zone there. That's a 10% risk of seeing some tornadoes for today. Watching that very closely, obviously. Surrounded by the brown, that is, of course, in your 5% zone. Green is going into 2%. Your wind threat for today, running very high in that red zone, obviously running about 30%, and that's also where the hail threat will be the highest here for today as well. You see the hail threat probability also sitting in that same zone. They got it all shaded in here, so that's where our threat for possibility up to about 2-inch hail, I think, possibility with some of these storms as they get fired up here for later this afternoon and going into tonight. Now, as this progresses, we got this day 1 outlook. This will go into day 2, so we got enhanced area once again for tomorrow. That'll shift a little bit further south. And then day 3, it kind of shifts over toward the mid-Atlantic and back over here toward the south central Texas area, south central plains region. But so we got multiple days ahead, but obviously today is the main concern, the main threat that we're going to see here for today. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the model data. We're going to give kind of an idea of the timing and what we're expecting, what areas are going to be kind of targeted here, as we're going to be looking at the latest from the high resolution model data, the kind of the longer range one here. 12Z is just kind of chewing right now. We'll have that up here a little bit later. So let's go ahead and talk about the model data here first, all right? Now, the first thing I want to look at here, I'm going to switch over here. This is called CAPE, okay? This is the fuel. We got, when you get into the deeper into spring months, obviously you got a lot more fuel to work with as you get a lot more heat as you're getting closer and closer to summertime. So we're going to see plenty of that. This is the current outlook right now. As we progress throughout the afternoon, it really starts to come up. Look at all that purple there coming in toward Indiana and in toward Illinois. But this is a very strong driven system. So we kind of got two different elements here. You've got the low pressure system, which is spinning up here. So a lot of the severe weather up here is going to be dynamically driven by the jet energy, and this stuff down here to the south, that's going to be driven predominantly by by basically the instability that's going to be there. So that's what we're going to watch in for those zones for today. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the tornado parameters. So it's like if I was going to bullseye this as far as the tornado, it looks like northern Indiana looks like that'll be the highest grid. So this is your significant tornado parameter. Again, you're going to have it along that squall line kind of moving into Wisconsin. Watch what happens here as we head toward 8 o'clock though. Really starts to spike up here across areas of northern Indiana. So this will be the target zone, probably where your chasers are going to be setting up here for today with that risk. I'll zoom in a little bit closer here, and you kind of see a 4, there's a 3, there's another 5 there. So we're talking the top end of the scale down here on your right side. So you can see that kind of coming up in here. So how this thing's going to break down is we're going to have, again, a squall line, and then we're going to watch for supercells, thunderstorms develop it out ahead of this thing as we go into tonight. So let's track this. Watch this low pressure system. This low pressure system at 986 millibars is going to really start to deepen off here as we go into the afternoon hours. So as we go on in, 2 o'clock, you're seeing some pretty hefty thunderstorms here across portions of Minnesota starting to fire. You see those right through here. So that's the initial thunderstorms that may go severe initially. Then this kind of spreads out into Wisconsin. So by 6 o'clock, we've got a pretty good squall line here racing through areas of Wisconsin, coming all the way back down into northern Illinois. All right, this area here is going to be a little bit delayed. We've got to have a little bit of a cap there in place that's going to keep that at bay just a little bit. But as we go into watch what happens here from 7 o'clock. What happens? Watch here as they go from 7 to 8. It's really going to start to fire up. Boom, there it goes. 8, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Here we go. Boom, right there. So that cap breaks on through there. So that is the timing right now coming through Wisconsin. And thank you for that new subscriber. I do appreciate you there. And again, this will be coming on through Chicago, Milwaukee around 6, 7 o'clock. And then it really starts to get active here with that squall line down through Illinois and into Indiana as we go in toward the evening hours. 9, 10 o'clock, that kind of moves on through here into the night areas. And look at that low pressure system. I mean, look at this thing. 977 millibars. That's equivalent to a Category 2 storm. So this big wind machine is driving this squall line that's going to be moving right through Wisconsin. And I can back this up so you can see a little bit closer there. Going in through northern Illinois as this moves across the lakes. And then, of course, we have to watch what it does when it's going here across Indiana. I'm really concerned about northern Indiana. That's probably my concern looking at the latest model data here as this moves on through. And then this moves off toward the east. And then we're going to have to do with a couple more rounds tomorrow as that low begins to unwind. We'll have little pieces of energy that are going to rotate around this again. So if I pull back out here, as you can see here, as we're dealing with that low pressure system there, we're going to do this again tomorrow. So we're going to have some more thunderstorms that are going to flare up here as we go late in the afternoon. Here's some more, boom, going right in across the Ohio River Valley. So tomorrow, we'll be dealing with this zone. Obviously, that's where that enhanced area is going in for tomorrow evening. So we got, again, back-to-back days of some pretty good substantial weather that'll be going on in there. So folks need to make sure that they're paying attention. And again, the timing on this is going to be going in late in the day, getting kind of dark, especially across northern Indiana. Major metropolitan areas are in the crosshairs here. So we're talking about Indianapolis. I'm going to back this up once again to kind of show, again, that target frame here for tonight. Kind of going in here again around 8 o'clock. Looks like this is probably when it's going to be getting near the worst. So we're getting late in the day here, going from Green Bay, Milwaukee, Chicago, down towards central Illinois, coming in toward Indianapolis, northern Indiana, as we go in toward tonight. So that's what we're going to expect. We're going to see probably winds anywhere up to about 70 miles per hour. EF2 tornadoes, I think, or above across Wisconsin and across northern Indiana. As we got, that's where the best instability is going to be the highest in those zones. So that's what we're going to see for today. Now, right now, what's going on out there right now is some thunderstorms there to the east of, west of Minneapolis right now. So these are not severe yet, but you got some pretty good thunderstorms here coming in toward Minneapolis. Pretty nice little outflow boundary. See that little outflow boundary there out in front of this? So as this progresses off to the east, we'll get some heftier thunderstorms that are going to flare up. I think Minneapolis, this may skin by you before really kind of flaring up as it gets into Wisconsin. So I think you're going to be okay for the most part here. Right now, as far as any current active watches and warnings out there right now, nothing to be concerned about. It's very breezy, very windy behind the system. Here you see all these wind advisories here across the Dakotas into Iowa and into Minnesota. So a very big wind machine, that's for sure, with the storm system as it gets flared up. Now we will see those tornado watches will be issued here later today. Definitely going to be covering a zone from anywhere here across portions of Wisconsin, coming back into Illinois, Indiana, all this whole zone in here. We'll definitely see several tornado watches that'll be issued here as we go into the late afternoon and into the evening hours. So folks, just need to be weather aware, stay prepared, be ready to go, be ready to act if you are any of those zones that are going to be hit here for today as we kind of watch that low pressure system get cranked up. Again, we're expecting a pretty good, pretty decent outbreak. I wouldn't call this a super outbreak, but it could be a little bit of a punch there with this. It has gone up a bit, especially as the models have indicated the pressure going down. It's very unusual to see a storm of this magnitude for this time of year, that's for sure. Now, we are going to be doing some live severe weather coverage. We'll probably start a little bit earlier than the other big channels out there to try to get a little bit of a jump. To kind of help the channel out a little bit, because once the big boys get on there and they start broadcasting, the YouTube algorithm kind of locks us out. So we'll probably start a little bit earlier this afternoon, maybe around 2 o'clock or so, and we'll kind of track this thing going into the evening hours, and then we'll stay on as long as the algorithm will allow us to have customers. If we don't have any customers, then obviously we'll let the big boys have their play. But we'll have our say too, and you're invited to please come back to the channel here and watch us as we kind of track this weather. Again, I try not to be the hype machine. I try to give it to you guys straight, and this is a day y'all need to be prepared, especially there across the high plains in the Midwest, and then obviously we're going to have to deal with this again for tomorrow. All right, that is y'all's morning update for now. Again, I appreciate you guys checking us out, and please share this with anybody that may be impacted by the severe weather, not only for today, but also over the next couple days. Again, we've got to keep people weather aware and be prepared to react should the worst of Mother Nature comes into your neighborhoods. All right, that's it for now. You guys take it easy. We'll see you later this afternoon for our